What's up, Reds? It's that time again. Welcome to Wall of Reds on the All for United channel. Look, I'll cut to the chase straight away. Smash a like on this video and hit that subscribe button if you're watching All for United for the first time, because we are just a couple of subscribers away from hitting that 1.3k mark. So, yeah, you know, we're getting those numbers up gradually, but we will hit 1.3k ASAP. So, youtube.com/All for United if you're watching on any other platform. Come over, hit that subscribe button. Loads of really, really good content, including my chat with Al Foran. Find out more about Amad Diallo and Palestri as well, from a South American and Italian journalist. Just come over to the channel, loads of great content there, and hit that subscribe button. Right now, though, Rule of Reds, get in the live chat, get involved with the show, because we have three massive talking points. We're going to be talking about the problems of Paul Pogba a little bit later on. We're going to be talking about the Ole and Poch links, but we're going to kick things off tonight with the lads chatting about the captaincy. Abdul is buzzing for this show. Abdel's buzzing for it. He messaged me when I put out a tweet saying that we were going to do a show on Harry Maguire, saying, get me on, I want to talk about it. So I cannot wait to get some of the lads' thoughts. I know Oliver's spoken about the captaincy before and bits and pieces like that, so that's why it's going to be an interesting debate. So let's kick things off. Lads, thank you for all coming on. I'll come over to you one by one first of all to say hello. Matt, thank you for jumping on in America, buddy. It's good to have you on with me. Let's chat a little bit about the current situation at United, the captain's armband. Let's start with a really black and white question. Is Harry Maguire fit for the job, Matt? Go.
No. Honestly, when he first got it, I don't think I was kind of confused. I thought De Gea probably shouldn't have gotten it over him. But right now, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious Bruno should probably have it, if not De Gea. But I mean, I know the jury's out on De Gea right now. But I think right now, I think Bruno is obviously the most fitting. So no, I don't think Harry should have it.
Wow, okay. There we go. The first point straight. This is why I love this show. The first point straight in. Harry Maguire should not have the captain armband. I was shocked when he got it. So many quotes to put as the clickbait title. Let's get another Matt on, shall we? Matt_Branding's on with us. He's been brilliant on some of the shows. Matt, thank you for jumping on as well. Do you agree with your namesake?
I absolutely do. I absolutely agree. I think when you pick a captain, you've got to pick someone who is absolutely nailed on your team sheet, is influential, and more often than not is in form. And you know, last year Maguire was in form. I'll give you that. But at the moment, Harry Maguire shouldn't even be in the starting 11, let alone captain of Manchester United. So I think what we've seen from Bruno since he came into the club, and again, let's get it right. We're always looking to improve things. We're always looking to upgrade. When Maguire got the armband, Bruno wasn't there. Actually, Maguire should have done the decent thing when Bruno arrived and gone, Bruno, here you go, pal. So that's it for me.
This is fun. I'm going to reserve my comments until afterwards. Let's say hello to some guys who aren't on the show, who you can't see in front of you, but are in the live chat, who we need to say hello to. Hello to Gaynor, who's in with us.
Hey.
Suzanne's in with us as well.
Hey.
Hello to Jessica, who's in with us, saying Ollie should not be sacked. We're going to get on to that, Jessica, I promise. Hello to Helly, who says, hello, everyone. Hey, Helly, good to have you with us. Hey. Who else have we got on with us here? Shiparton says, Amad could be a great buy. Amad Diallo.
100% agree with that.
100% agree with that. Brown Knight with his standard. What did I miss? Well, you've just missed two Matts say two fingers to Harry Maguire, basically. That's what you just missed. Slivian Fisher says, don't you guys think Ollie knows better than us? A good point, well made. And I'm sure someone will get onto that. James, let's come over to you, buddy. Good to have you on. Hope the podcast is going well, mate. Tell us. I said it black and white to the other guys. I'll say it black and white to you. Is Harry Maguire fit to be the captain of Manchester United, James?
Well, cheers for having me on, firstly. But it's a difficult one. Like I know it's a bit sitting on the fence, but I can see why they gave him the captaincy, in that they're going for this big British-based rebuild, and you know they've got the most expensive English player of all time in the squad. So to put him as the sort of centerpiece of your team as captain, to show what direction you're headed in, it made sense. But I think he was only given 6 months before, you know, Ashley Young left, to sort of fit in with the squad and establish himself as a leader. And that at a club with personalities as big as we've got, it doesn't seem like it's enough time. Obviously, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes, and I'm not saying I'm in a better position to appoint a captain than Ollie is. He obviously knows a lot that I don't. But yeah, it's a confusing one. So I don't think he should be captain, but he's also up there as one of the best of a bad bunch, really, in terms of leadership.
Interesting point, well made again. Oh, do you know what? We will all get involved in debate at one point and do some to and fro in. But for now, I just want everyone to put their piece out there and put their 2 pence in. So put yours in the live chat as well, and we're getting them on the screen. Abdul, you've been waiting for this one, mate. You've been waiting for this one, mate. I know it. You've really wanted to speak about Harry Maguire for a long time, but you haven't been on the right show to do so. So Abdul, take the floor away. Is Harry Maguire fit to be Manchester United captain?
Well, when I told you I wanted to talk about Harry Maguire, I meant it in a statistical and tactical point of view, like how is he as a player, because people were saying he's a bad defender, and he is definitely not a bad defender. But in terms of being the captain, it depends on what captains mean to you. It's all relative, really, and subjective. So, like, to me, is a captain could be someone who's just shouting on the pitch, like Roy Keane, for example. A captain could be just a leader in the dressing room or a leader off the pitch. So it really depends on what is your view of a captain. To me, Harry Maguire most likely is a better leader than the bunch we have off the pitch. He doesn't have to be screaming on the pitch and telling people what to do or what they're not doing. Even though he does do it, it's just not very apparent to the people because, let's face it, the camera is on Harry Maguire in certain incidents, not in the entirety of the 90 minutes. So I think people are very harsh, and I think people are taking incidents on its own and making a big judgment on it. So, for example, the Rashford and him video, I think it's very fairly viewed and put out in the way that it was put out, because Harry Maguire was right to calm Rashford down, or Rashford would have been sent off going after the referee, because he's the one. Maguire was the only one allowed to talk. Is the only one allowed to talk to the referees. So if Rashford continued in the way that he was going, either he gets a yellow or he's off the pitch too, and then we're basically, you know what. So, and another image was posted of him standing away from the referee when Martial received the red card. That's not true. That's 1 instant, 1 millisecond of the whole thing that happened. Harry Maguire went and talked to him and told the referee, but what about Lamela? But that said, these things are very, very subjective. It depends on what you want to see. Like, I don't want, like, to be honest with you, I don't want to captain like Roy Keane in the sense of shouting at people and just being so aggressive on the pitch. That's not leadership to me. That's just aggressiveness, So,
and the game's changed, isn't it? The game's changed. You probably can't get away with that now.
Exactly. Probably Roy Keane would have gotten a red card every game if he played in the modern football era, right?
Yeah.
So take Graham Souness, for example. I believe Graham Souness wasn't a football player. He was a thug. That's what I believe, because this is not leadership if that was leadership back then. So it's really subjective. It really depends on what you think is a leader and the time that you're in and what you're expecting out of the guy. So
yeah, I think that's a good shout on the subjective note. And we'll come back over and talk about the tactical side of things and him as a player, because I actually think that is quite important, because I think a lot of people want the captaincy taken off of him more because of his form than actually him as a leader. Because, again, like some points are being made, doesn't Ollie know better than us? And again, we'll come back in and debate this properly. I just want to read out a couple of comments here. Oh, here we go. The Abdel fan club's in. Love Abdel. Just puts things into perspective, always. What do you make of our new signings then? Darren says, Darren, we're going to get on to some bits and pieces around our new signings. Definitely Van der Beek a little bit later on, if you still class him as a new signing. Hello to Suzanne. This is Bruno is a good captain for the future, but not this season. Jessica says it rocked the boat too much if it's taken away from Harry. Would be given to Bruno if he was there when Young left, which is a good point. And Gaynor here saying, I think we should stand by Maguire at the moment. He may not be the best man for the job, but not right time to change, in my opinion. And another point here from Suzanne, who says Harry was giving it too quickly, but I back him now that he has it. So what about over to you, Oliver? I mean, it's a big question. Is he fit for the captaincy? Do you want him to be the captain? What's your thoughts?
Well, I mean, we've been looking for leaders all over the pitch. That's been quite a keen thing for the fan base looking for. I think we definitely have one of those in Bruno Fernandes, and hopefully more in the more experienced, Cavani. That's another leader to inspire and push us on. I think to say Harry Maguire is not fit for the captaincy, I think it's too simple. there's only sort of 3 natural times to change your captain, and that's a new manager coming in, a new signing being made, or at the start of a new season. I think to do it mid-season shows a sort of naivety on Ole's part, and I don't know if you guys would agree, but I seem to think Maguire's a bit of a confidence player. I mean, not as much as some, but you'll notice, his head's not been right at the minute. He's not playing his best football. I think it was a unique incident the other day with the Tottenham game where, he's not run over and started screaming in the ref's face. But as Abdel said, it was a calm reaction and doing the captain's job. Whereas, to say, oh, let's give someone else the captain's armband, I think that would just completely destroy what little confidence he has left. And I think we need Harry Maguire. We've paid that money for him. They're not going to not play him. So I think for his benefit and the team's benefit, you have to leave the captain's armband where it is.
Good points, well made, Oliver. We're going to come back. Reece, let's come over to you, mate. Your thoughts?
Pretty much same to what everyone else has said, really. I know I made a previous comment about Harry Maguire shouldn't be captain on a previous video, but that's not because I don't want him as captain. I actually want him to be club captain. The reason I made that comment is because I don't feel like Oliver's mentioned, Abdel and all that, is at the minute it's clearly affecting what happened before the season started, and your mental attitude and your mental aspect to your game can in fact affect your physical side in the game as well. So that's another thing that's got to be considered, is if your head's not in the game, you're not going to be at your best week in, week out. So you've got to be more mindful of that. However, what I will say is, yeah, he may not be a loud captain on the pitch. He might not lead by being all in your face, but he leads by example. And you can see by the way he commands his presence around him. He might not be the best player on the pitch, but frankly, in terms of who he is, he does have that presence of, actually, no, I would listen to this guy because I know he's going to take me forward. He's going to make me better. So I say stick with him as captain because it gives him a chance to show who he is as a person as well, because he does show he's a great captain. And I'm not going to slate anyone in that sense. I'm just going to say, if he's doesn't matter if he's a player, doesn't matter if he's like a ground staff, whatever, like they represent Manchester United, we should support them regardless, no matter what they're going through. We've got to support them in that sense. If, however, things don't, I would say, improve, where things just continue to get too much for him, maybe delegate the captaincy a bit. I don't know who our vice captain is at the minute. I don't know if we've got one, but I would delegate around that, maybe just to take a little bit of the pressure off him and let him lead like the defence and also lead from the back, and then someone else can lead in front of him. It's a matter of leading by example, but also a captain doesn't have to lead every time. There's players that can delegate with him that can also make importance on the pitch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good points. Good points, well made by everyone there. I mean, let's all jump in this together, shall we? We've got a few comments in, so then we'll shift over to people one by one. Brendan says here, didn't ever say Harry was given the captaincy too soon, as it was probably just as he joined. It was a couple of months in when Ashley Young left. Wouldn't that then also apply to Bruno Fernandes? Matt Branding, I think you mentioned about Bruno Fernandes potentially getting the captain. Was that you or the other Matt? No, that was you, Matt, about Bruno Fernandes potentially getting the captaincy. So is that a slight bit of hypocrisy when it comes to the fan base calling for him? What do you think about that?
I don't think there can be any hard and fast rules for how you pick who captains your team. I think you at any given situation you have to pick the right man for the right job. You've got to have a round peg in a round hole, and I think that if you're going to sign a player like Bruno Fernandes, who we all of us on here would never have expected him to hit the ground running as quickly as he did when he joined Manchester United. But he absolutely has. And since he signed, he's been our absolute key man. Absolute key man. Plays every game. Delivers us an 8 out of 10 as a minimum, week in, week out. And if he's not having a good game, he'll still be influential. He'll still run further than most other players. He'll still play a decisive role in a decision or in a moment in the game that will win us some points. And I think you just have to make a decision on who the best person is for the job. He could be there 5 minutes. He could be there 12 months. if it becomes really, really clear he's the best man for the job. And I think, someone made a comment that Ole should know better than us. Well, absolutely he should. I mean, if he doesn't, he should be in the job. So he should absolutely know better than us. But what I wouldn't like to think is that we're not considering options like changing the captain because, well, we've made a decision that it's going to be Harry Maguire. We're 3 games into a season. Harry Maguire's got no form. He's got no confidence. You can see that when he steps out. And you know what? What's gone on in the summer will have affected him. And someone made a comment that some of the game was about the mental side. Most of the game is about the mental side. At elite level, it's about decision making. And if you're not there mentally, you're making the wrong decisions. And you can watch Harry Maguire when he's played in a number of the games that we've played so far this season. And his decision making as a centre half hasn't been right. So therefore, you've got to make the right decision at the right time. And I think taking him completely out of the firing line, whether it be captaincy, starting in the team, whatever, let's let him focus on finding some form, being the world-class centre-half that we signed from Leicester. Because let's make no bones about it. He is a great defender. He is a great defender. I don't recall him being captain of Leicester when he was a great defender. So we don't need our armband to be a great defender. So for me, round peg, round hole, make the right decision at the right time. And at this moment in time, he should not be our captain.
Some great
one
points,
thing,
mate.
One thing I wanted to say as well, just a quick comment I was just going to say is Matt mentioned about who is on the pitch and about being a captain. What I would also say is you don't have to be the very best player to be on the pitch to be your captain. It's just that person who represents what you believe is your club captain. So maybe there's something that Ole sees in Maguire is actually you're my club captain for a reason, not because we spent 80 million on you. But there must be something about his persona and his characteristics. He's like, you are the manager, you are the captain to take us forward, and I'm going to back you.
Yeah, good point. Well made. Yeah, your captain's meant to be your on-field. He's meant to be the person on field who can portray your philosophy, so to speak. For Van Gaal, I feel so Van Gaal-esque when I say the word philosophy. It's unreal. I tried to stop myself saying it, but I just couldn't then. So it's quite interesting. Some of the comments coming in are sort of hitting on that. Slivian says here, take away the captain armband from it, ruin the confidence that he's got left to hit him back on the points of his mental state. Shipart says Roy Keane didn't shout, only shouted when needed. I think the point being made there on Roy Keane was the fact that, and now is the mixture of the current game. So, for instance, if Harry Maguire was shouting right up in the referee's face where they're literally nose for nose, which Keano would do on time to time and obviously not be punished for because that's the type of fiery character he was, if Harry Maguire done that the other day, would have been sent off. It's as simple as that. And once that red card was given, and the decision was made, what was the point in continue arguing a toss? You need to set a precedent to be a professional. And I think that's what Harry Maguire did in that situation with Rashford. Abdel?
Yeah, no, what I meant with shouting is that shouting does not mean you're a leader. It has nothing to do with leadership. Shouting literally does not mean you're a leader. Leader is just knowing what to do at certain situations. And to me, Harry Maguire knew what to do at that situation. And had he not done what he did, Rashford would have been off the pitch as well. And it would have been a worse game.
Yeah.
So as simple as that.
Yeah, good point. Brown Knight says, here's a question. Come on, lads, let's put your thinking caps on. When have United ever appointed an official captain and taken the armband away from him? When has any club ever done that? I don't think it's a normal thing to happen in football.
Every time they changed the captain, they took it away from De Gea.
Yeah, but he wasn't official captain at the time, was he?
I think he was, wasn't he?
No, I think they were loyal to him.
No, he was vice captain, same as Pogba. Pogba made comments in an interview after the Leicester game. He had the vice captaincy removed. But in terms of official captains, I don't think any club's ever done. I mean, captains used to change in the 60s and 70s because it was role reversal. But I don't know. I don't think there's ever been a club that's done this unless they've been misconduct and they've been sacked.
I think this is where the
great question though. Great question.
Mauro Icardi
at Arsenal when he had a right with the fans.
Mauro Icardi.
Was that? Sorry, Abdel. Sorry.
Granit Xhaka at Arsenal He was
Oh,
stripped
that's
of
a
the
good point,
captaincy
yeah.
after what happened with him and the fans when he was subbed out.
Yeah, last season.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That's a good point. I mean, for me, this is where like the, so to speak, overreactionary FC comes from on social media sometimes. Because surely, if a player's not playing bad, instead of stripping the captaincy off him straight away, you drop him from the team first and foremost. But with Harry Maguire, there's nothing about he should start on the bench the next game. It's he shouldn't be our captain anymore. And I think that's
I
what's
was
quite interesting.
I was reading through the chats, Ben, and Brown Knight also made a comment similar to what you've just said about how we've got Maguire, then we've got Bruno, then we've got Van de Beek. How all captains should just be, if they were the captain for their club, just make them captain now.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Which is that
There's
reaction
loads
side.
going on. There's loads of points to be made, but I think some point people have mentioned here, and I think this is where Abdel, we will come over to you and talk about the tactical point of view and Harry Maguire as a defender. Some points made on here that and I just said it there, the overreactionary side of it is the fact that he's playing badly, so he should have the captaincy taken off him. So tell us a bit about Harry Maguire, the defender, and how he's been this season. And all those people are sort of talking about his form and the fact that he's not a great defender and a waste of money in some cases. Abdel, what do you think on that?
Well, honestly, when I do analysis on any player, I disregard the price because I don't, sorry for the word, don't give a shit about the price. But I only care about the player and what he does on pitch. And Harry Maguire was bought for obvious and clear reasons. The first one is he's a ball carrier, and his passing range is very, very good and up there with the best centre backs in the Premier League. As well as his ball carrying ability. What else? His defending statistics are also up there with the top 6 defenders in the Premier League, and he's not. I wouldn't say he's not on par with Virgil van Dijk in terms of statistical wise, but he is up there with him. He competes with him in certain categories, even. In certain categories, Harry Maguire even surpasses Virgil van Dijk. What he doesn't have over Virgil van Dijk is speed, and maybe Virgil van Dijk, you could say, is better in the quality of passes, in the range of passes, and the quality and the accuracy. So flat out saying he's a bad defender, he is not. The difference is what's around him. So you have to take that into account. There's a lot of dynamics into how a player is affected and how he performs on the pitch in comparison to the left back he has beside him, the center back he has beside him, the defensive midfielder he has in front of him. So, for example, when he was playing at Leicester before Brendan Rodgers came in, I forgot the name of the guy, sorry, that was previous, that was the previous manager.
Or Craig Shakespeare. Craig Shakespeare, wasn't it?
Puel,
yeah, that's something. Yeah, Puel, exactly that one. One, exactly. So he was relying on counter-attacking, right? So that means he was defending a lot, and Harry Maguire was at the center of that. So at that time, Harry Maguire statistically was one of the probably the best defensively in the league. That's not because he is actually the best, it's because he had to defend a lot. When they changed strategy and Brendan Rodgers came in, Rodgers' style is more possession based and not defensive or counter-attacking. So his defensive statistics dropped, but what appeared out of it is his actually build-up play abilities. So his ball carrying into midfield, his long-range passing, his ability to spot Vardy's run and give him a pass from his own half directly to Vardy. So he is one of the complete defenders in the league. It's just his only weakness is speed. That is all. So that can be solved easily with a proper left back beside him and a proper center back beside him. But what happened lately with him, what I think happened lately with him is all mental, because they're all very uncharacteristic mistakes that he made, like schoolboy defending, that like some other people say. Like these things, you would not see it from someone in even League 2 or the Championship. So what happened with him I don't know, in Greece, and the mental fatigue that he was, experiencing, probably is what's causing all these mistakes from him. Because you have to remember, at the end of the day, Harry Maguire played the most minutes of any player in Europe, not in Man United, in Europe, top 5 leagues.
Mm-hmm.
So this has to take a toll at some point. So my best guess is, do not strip him of the armband, because you will destroy a lot of dynamics in that team by doing that, and just drop him for a game or two until he clears his mental state.
Yeah, good points made there. James, what Abdel was saying there on last season, the minutes he played and the summer he's had. Do people forget, James, about how good he was last year?
Yeah, I think even I did myself as well, personally. Like a couple of bad performances, you seem to get a bit of recency bias. So even myself, I've been frustrated in how he's been playing. But you saw from like the amount of goals conceded last season that him and Wan-Bissaka undoubtedly improved our defence tenfold. Like, even under a manager like Ole, who's clearly not a defensive-minded coach. We had a better season under Ole defensively than we did under Mourinho. So that just says what sort of impact he's had. So, there's no doubt in his ability. But like Abdul said as well, it is about the players around him. So I think, at Leicester, he had Ben Chilwell next to him at left-back, who's one of the best left-backs in the league. He had, I believe, he had Soyuncu and Evans rotating around him as well. They're two centre-backs who, are both very competent. And then he had Wilfred Ndidi in front of him. Now, I know I'm a massive Matic fan, but I'll happily admit Wilfred Ndidi is a much better player defensively than Matic is. So there is a big question to be asked about the players around him as well. So I think that's a fair point.
Yeah, no, well played. Matt, let me come over to you. Let me just quickly talk to you a little bit about other leaders. We had the other Matt talk about Bruno Fernandes. What about you? You mentioned there David De Gea slightly. I actually had a mention that someone said they were intrigued about the fact that Juan Mata wasn't made captain. I mean, I know he wasn't playing, but United have never been short of making a so to speak, a club icon or a wiser head in the squad, the so to speak off-field captain. We've had off-field and on-field captains for United. So what about other leaders in the current squad, Matt?
I mean, I think it's kind of hard considering how young our squad is and kind of how inexperienced. I mean, just to say Paul Pogba is probably one of our more experienced players is saying something. He's still, 28, 27? But I think for me, like, just to go along with the captaincy, I don't think time spent at the club matters in terms of being a captain. I think, I forgot who it was, but if you're fit for the job, you're fit for the job. Take it, But if it wasn't for his form, I would say David De Gea is probably the clear-cut choice for a captaincy. If for some reason Maguire would be stripped, which I don't think he should be. Again, I know I just said he shouldn't be captain, but I don't think we should strip it from him at this moment, But yeah, I would say Juan Mata. I think just how experienced, just how nice of a guy. He's probably the most liked football player on earth right now. And David De Gea, just from pure experience. And if we're gonna talk about knowing the club, David De Gea is, been here almost, I think, one of the longest serving players now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good point. Well played. Oliver, let's come over to you. A shout in here. I can't find the comment now, but shout out to whoever said it. Someone mentioned in here, what about just give it to Rashford? Is he the future? Oliver, do you think Marcus Rashford potentially?
Well, I mean, he's definitely got the club DNA, tenfold, and all of his good work. But I just think it's a bit too much too soon. You could see the pressure or the added pressure that there's all this MBE and reward for the really good work that he's done, and that seemed to have a little bit of an effect on him. But yeah, I could quite easily see that if his form continues. Because obviously, you've still got to be of a standard to play for, what we're hoping is going to be a title challenging team. But if he keeps playing the way he's doing and developing, he's definitely developed into, a decent, capable young man, and seems to have the mental fortitude and tact for that. As everyone's saying about Bruno being captain, there's always that issue of having the sort of visceral passion, but then being quite angry after a game and everything. You still need to be tactful in your interviews. Like De Gea, backhanded comments to other team members. You can't be doing that as your team captain. So for Rashford, definitely, yeah, I could see that in the future. But I think that's sort of 2-3 seasons off because he needs to just get his head down and get on with being, prime Rashford.
Prime Rashford. I like it. Fire. That's what that is. Jacob says, I think the idea of a sole captain is a bit overrated. Remember when Gary Neville was captain while Rio and Van der Sar were helping us win the top trophies? We need more communication no matter who is captain. Yeah, because he more or less sat on the bench for maybe a season and a half, 2 seasons when he had that injury towards the end of his career. What about else? The only club captain that played every game for United, Cantona, only for 1 season, and Roy Keane shows exactly what Maguire achieved last season. That I think. Brendan says, wasn't Harry Maguire pushing for the goals against Brighton low? That to me does show the right fighting mentality. Just give it time. Brown Knight back in. It's a side effect of the obscene inflammation in the transfer market. The players like Pogba and Maguire are and will forever be judged by their ridiculous transfer fees. Jessica says, we want our team to play with confidence, but how will they when the fans are slating them all the time? Back our players, back our manager, back our captain. And Gaynor here says, we lack leaders on the pitch as a whole, which puts more pressure on the captain. Hopefully Cavani could help with this. Yeah, potential another leader there, Oliver, in Cavani, who would bring a lot of experience into this side and hopefully a level head. But talking now about the lack of leaders on the pitch, let's just sum this all up. I think it is the case that we are going through a transitional. I keep saying it. We are going through a transitional period, aren't we? So whatever was going to happen after Ashley Young leaving the club as our captain. By the way, let's rewind 2 seasons. People were saying the same about Ashley Young. Ashley Young should not be our club captain, and he was made our club captain. So we've always got an opinion on who should get X and Y role at the club, but it is in general just a lack of leaders, isn't it? And the club does. We need to find some authority on the pitch.
Well, I think leaders.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Oliver. That was for Reese. Sorry, mate.
Oh, sorry, mate.
Well, yeah, you make a very good point there. In the sense of that is, we are transitioning in a different sense, and I think my volume's down. Apologies. Hold on.
I can hear you, mate. It's good.
Perfect. I was hearing a bit quiet in my sound, so I was just checking. Yeah, like the whole Ashley Young thing. I mean, I myself, I didn't think he was the right choice for captain, but I thought he led by example on the pitch, even when he was converted to a fullback. But Maguire, specifically, it doesn't have to be about captaincy. It's just about leadership, and not every leader is going to be loud or they're going to be overly direct. They can be a passive individual on the pitch, but you can see how they take advantage. I saw a comment. I was reading through the chat as well whilst everyone was talking as well, because I just wanted to see what everyone was saying. And a specific comment by Suzanne was she would prefer a midfielder as a captain. I actually agree, but what I would say is more leaders means better for the younger players, and the likes of Cavani is a perfect example. I mean, if it turns out great for him, but this year he'll get another year as part of his contract. He could be the reason between Mason Greenwood being a starter on the right wing and becoming our best number 9, like for years to come. Like he could be that influential figure. Same with Rashford. Like, is he a future captain? I'm not sure. Maybe not. But I do like the prospect of more leaders compared to what we have, because I don't think there's a lot of leaders in that team that you would generally look up to. Not a lot. Maybe I think the only ones I would say is Pogba and Bruno. I wouldn't say anyone else, to be honest.
Yeah, good point. And Fisher's here put in, Young was the most experienced player, captain in the dressing room more than on the pitch. I think the last point I want to make, guys, make sure you hit the like button, by the way, on this video, smash it. There's loads of you watching right now. If we can get 1 like for everyone watching, that'd be brilliant. And hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed as well, even if you're watching this back, because we've got loads of great United content already on the channel and coming up too. I do think that this is a mixture of sort of what everyone said with Harry Maguire. Look, he's joined the club as the world's most expensive defender. Is Harry Maguire the best defender to ever play football in the world? No, he's not. Should he own that price tag? No, he shouldn't. But is he a brilliant defender? Yes, he is. Is he a leader in his own right? Look, we've only got to look back. If it wasn't for Jordan Henderson doing what he'd done at Liverpool and sustaining himself as a captain over a period of time and a leader, Harry Maguire would be the captain of England right now. People forget that he was Southgate's second choice for that armband at the time. So if Southgate's saying, well, Harry Maguire's the leader for England, and Ollie's saying, well, actually, as soon as Maguire came into this dressing room, and by the way, Rob Blanchett once said on a podcast, he heard from a lot of people around the Man United dressing room that as soon as Harry Maguire joined the club, that club became Harry Maguire's club. The dressing room all loved Harry Maguire. And I think if we go back to pre-COVID, we all saw the team spirit. It was brilliant. Harry Maguire was taking the teams out. We're in a bad run of form, but we still had belief that the players were together and were there for the manager. And I think it's really tough that if we're going to keep comparing Harry Maguire to Roy Keane, then we're falling in the trap of comparing, Ashley Young to Gary Neville. It's just such a bad comparison. Like, the game changes, times move on. Harry Maguire has always said it's a dream for him to play for Man United. He's a dream to be the captain of this great football club. I think we've just got to back him and we've got to support him. Look, if his form tails off, yes, of course, he needs to be dropped and we need to give him a chance to improve. We need to give him a chance to get his mind in the right place. But as Abdel said a minute ago, there is no taking away from how much Harry Maguire improved Manchester United last season. And if you're telling me who should have been the captain at that point, I was okay with Harry Maguire being captain of this club. So why should that change after a couple of bad games? For me, it's a slight overreaction. And talking about overreactions, the noise going around about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer this week has been absolutely astronomical. It's been unbelievable. Even apparently now Ed Wood was saying that he's open to the idea of sacking Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Well, I'm asking out there, anyone who works for Manchester United, who can sack Ed Woodward? Because if Ole ends up getting fired, how many managers is that now under Ed Woodward? How many failed transfer windows? It's an absolute joke that Ed Woodward is touting the stuff he is. So let's come to each of you with a black and white question right now. Matt, we'll start with you again. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. How many games has he got left? Like, honest, just plain and simple. Yeah.
Can I make just one quick point before we get on the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer talk?
Mate, I'm always open to you making a good point. As long as it's a good point, though, because if it's a bad point, then I'm not open for that.
No.
Okay, so for like our 1920 season, right? If you take the big games away, just remove all the big games and just focus on the ones against the lesser oppositions. When we played offensively and we were dominating the possession, we did not have a proper CDM. And the fact that we came third best in the league defensively and Maguire put up the numbers that he did put, that's insane. Because if you don't have a proper CDM and you still manage to be the third best in the league, that says a lot about the back line. So they were very good. It's just right now they're not in a good mental state. That's all of it.
And also, like on that, I think he made the players around him look better last season. He made Luke Shaw look better. He made Lindelof look better. He gave the club an opportunity to, so to speak, put round holes in square pegs. Square pegs in round holes. And the club didn't do that for him. And now teams are finding ways to play against this United defence. It's a bit like, look at Sheffield United this season compared to last season. And even the past 6, 7, 8 games, Sheffield United were unplayable at times last season. And now teams have found ways to play against them. It's the same with this United backline.
To put it into context, imagine the Man City team that won the league in 18-19, but without Fernandinho. Just take Fernandinho out.
As in the Man City team now as well.
Yeah,
because that's why they're struggling. And again, like, people will say, well, look, why should we throw another 60, 80 million on another world-class centre-back to fix our problems? That's the market. That's the transfer window now, guys. Like, but look at Pep Guardiola, and I don't care what anyone says. We joke about Guardiola, right? Pep Guardiola is one of the best managers to manage in the game ever. He's fantastic. He's had to spend nearly 600 million on defensive players to try and get the right defence. It's just the market. That's just how transfers are nowadays. You're not going to get a good player for less than 40 million unless you're extremely lucky. Right, let's go to the Oddie chat anyway, because there's loads of chat stuff coming in. And let's just start with this comment here. Facts over feelings. Oddie is a terrible manager. He needs to get sacked ASAP to save Manchester United's legacy. Woo! Matt, I was going to come to you. Let's come to you. Are Oddie's days numbered? What are you making of all this at the moment?
No, I don't think. As a fan, no, I'm only in. But if we just take a look at the trends from the board of Woodward and the Glazers, all these days probably are numbered, whether we like it or not. As whether we like it or not, the board can just say, look, we bought you these many players and you're not providing. We all know those weren't his top choice signings, but the board can do what they want. Like I said, like whether we like it or not, they can do whatever they want to do with Ole. I'm Ole in. I think he should be our manager, and I think he's taken the team. I mean, let's be honest, third place with the team last year. I'm gonna be kind of honest. That's kind of overachieving for me, you know. So it kind of shows testament to what he can do as a manager, and clearly the team loves the guy. So yeah, he should be our manager, but due to ownership, I think his days are numbered, sadly.
Matt, what are your thoughts on this, mate?
Well, I'm absolutely Ollie in as well. The problem I've got at the moment is that Ollie's not perfect. He makes his mistakes. We look at some of the team selections and we look at some of the in-game substitutions, and we're all there to watch. We're all there to cast an opinion, and we do so. Otherwise, we wouldn't be on here right now, Ben, would we? But some of that isn't perfect. But then there's no manager out there that is. Pep Guardiola's made mistakes. Jurgen Klopp's made mistakes. Ollie should remain in role, but he won't because Woodward will sack Ollie to cover up with the fact that they are incompetent behind the scenes. They are incompetent at signing players that he wants. But that will never ever come back and bite him, because it will always be the manager based on the football results that pays the penalty. So yeah, I agree 100% with what Matt just said. Ollie should remain in his role, but he won't, because he'll be the scapegoat, and we'll move on to the next, and it will be rinse repeat until the Woodwards and the Glazers and the Matt Judges are out of our club.
I'll tell you what, I can see a podcast coming here. The two Matts, the other side of the ocean, but agree on everything. I think this could be something that we can work on. Would you?
I think I'm still Ollie in. It's getting less and less every week, but I'm still Ollie in. I think you can't really sort of say he is a good enough manager to manage United, but at the same time, he's not warranted the sack yet at all. I think, given the mess he was left with after Mourinho, and given what he's actually done, the players he's brought in, they've all had a positive impact on the side. I think there's no grounds to sack him. I think, but going back to what the two Matts were saying, this board is ruthless, and I think if they can pin all of our problems this season on a manager and get rid of him, I think that will suit them just fine. But yeah, I do think he's numbered. I don't want them to be, but I also think there are much better managers out there available. So either way, I won't complain either way, really.
I feel like we started a brand tonight, the two Matts. James just gave it a shout out as well. Who else heard that? Hashtag the two Matts in the live chat. Let's go. Hit a like on this video, smash that subscribe button, keep your thoughts coming in on the live chat as the guys speak. James, I literally couldn't have said it better myself, mate. Abdel, what do you reckon? You're muted, man. There you go.
All right. Well, I'm really not neither. I'm neither an in or an out. I really do not subscribe to the notion. But I just think the guy has been severely disrespected, severely punished for things that really are just out of his control. And like the two Matts just said, whether we like it or not, he will get sacked, because Ali at the current moment is going to be a victim of both the board and circumstance. What I mean by circumstance is that the pandemic happened. We had to go deep into the competitions that we were in. We finished the last English team to finish their previous season. We had no preseason. The players were exhausted and we overused them. Then on top of all of that, you get one of the toughest fixtures any of the top six have. And it's all dooming. And then Maguire almost goes to prison. Pogba gets COVID. So all that lays into it. It's just not about him being a bad manager or a good manager, really. So eventually, I mean, if somehow he turns it around, and he was able to do it because it looked bleak and gloom after the Burnley game at the beginning of the year. If he can do the same thing, he'll definitely survive. I want him to survive because his survival means breaking that stupid cycle that we're in. If he doesn't, then we'll just succumb to the same cycle, and they'll get Pochettino in. They'll do the same exact thing to him because, by the way, whether you like it or not, Pochettino will need players, and he will not get to what you all think he's gonna achieve without players as well. So he will fall into the same thing. Who else people want? Nagelsmann, same thing. So it's a vicious cycle of sack and repeat.
Sack and repeat. Yep. Oliver, your thoughts?
Well, I have to agree with Abdul. I'm not really Ollie in or Ollie out. I don't think it needs to be that black and white, to be honest with you. I think any manager that we have had, I'll criticise them when I think that they've done something wrong or naive. Make no bones about it. When they appointed Ollie, I would have preferred Pochettino. I think just because he's got a little bit more sort of European experience, he's seen a few different types of football. He knows a lot more from moving around as a player. Whereas if you look at Ollie's CV, it doesn't really boast a lot. He did all right at Mulder, but who's to say what the competition is there? Are there any tactical geniuses that he has to outmaster? I'm not so sure about Pochettino anymore, though, to be honest with you. I don't think that's the answer. I think someone that can get the most out of the players that we have, so that we can avoid, a new manager comes in and needs 3 players, 4 players to imprint their own DNA on a team. I said today on Twitter, if they are going to get rid of Ollie, they should go tooth and nail at any expense to go and get Marco Bielsa. If you look at the clubs he's managed, he has improved league positions and player stats. I don't know whether it's just a fitness regime or just immense man management, but he's the sort of manager that we need to improve the situation because, I'm hoping it's not a deterioration between the players, I'm not sure that Ollie has what it takes to sort out a problem of that magnitude. I hope he does. I'm a massive Ollie fan, and being a club legend, I support my manager, whoever it is. But time will tell. Has he got the experience and the nous to sort out a situation that is potentially becoming a bit toxic, especially with all the exposure from the media? I just think we need a manager that can get the most out of the players we have by any means necessary. I'm not sure Ollie can do that, to be honest with you.
It's a tough one, though, isn't it? Because I think we've tried the chosen one in David Moyes when Sir Alex Ferguson retired. We tried a new football philosophy with Louis van Gaal. We tried a manager to get the best out of the players in Jose Mourinho. And we've now tried a transition guy, and we want to get rid of the transition guy to bring in another transition guy. It's tough, isn't it, Reece? I do agree with Abdul and Oliver. I don't think you need to be Ollie in or Ollie out at all. But where are you at with where this is going?
See, I've been thinking about that for quite a while, and I've always said I'm Ollie in, but the boys make a very good point about it should just be the sense of you should still be able to criticise but make fair critiques, not harsh judgments. That's what I would say in response to that is fair critiques, because you see it now on social media. It's you could make an honest comment, say for example, I think the manager made I think he did the wrong system today, and it affected us badly. And say example, we played badly, the Spurs for example. But that's one thing, and then you move on. But some people then say, "Oh, you've got an agenda," and I'm like, "No, I don't have an agenda. I'm just making an honest critique because this is the club I've supported since I was a young lad, and I want to get back to where we were." However, what I will say is, Ollie does need time because there was a lot this club's been bleeding for years, bleeding profusely, and that's down to the wrong choice of managers, from getting David Moyes, who got rid of Rennie Millenstein. He got rid of the coaching staff that was primed and prepared for him. He could then just add little things to it and then we would go on. But no, he made very quick decisions that backfired badly. Van Gaal, he was bored in philosophy. He was a great experienced manager, but it did not suit United at all.
You
and
make
it
a good
didn't
point there.
work.
Sorry, just on Moyes, just quickly. I think we all look at the fact that David Moyes was such a let's say downgrade Sir Alex Ferguson, of
Yeah.
course. But one of the biggest downgrades that happened at the club was the fact that Rennie Mullenstein went out and Phil Neville came in as assistant manager. I think people
Exactly.
forget how bad that downgrade, like how much of a downgrade that was.
Exactly, absolute slap in the face. And I mean, Rennie Mullenstein was at United for years, and he was the one that was doing sessions for Sir Alex. Sir Alex was out in the, like on the training ground. Sometimes he wasn't even at the training ground, like on the pitch. He was just there monitoring the situation because he knew his coaching staff could go out there. And you've seen game after game, you would see why he trusted this guy. You don't have to keep getting rid of players. But the one thing Sir Alex always did was you've got to remember to freshen up, and that includes coaching staff. And that's what I think Ole's problem is. It's not Ole, it's who he's got. I think McKenna's a great coach, but the likes of Phelan, I'm not sure if he's up to it anymore, and that's just a fair comment. I don't know if he is good enough for Ole to keep going. I think he's just because of that familiarity, that's why he's in. But I think for Ole to progress further with Man United, I believe he needs time. He needs better coaching staff around him to take this team forward, because I don't know what the coaching staff are doing with Ole that's having an impact long term. That's what I would say. Back the manager, but get him the best tools. Get him the.
Yeah, because I said it before, like, because we were doing a study on one of the coaches that Liverpool have, unfortunately, and they hired a coach for throw-ins, just a throw-in, the techniques used for making a throw-in and how to get an advantage of a throw-in anywhere on the pitch. And this is a very, very innovative study at the moment that it's just actually something new. And Liverpool and I think 2 or 3 other clubs that are the only clubs that have it at the moment. Mm-hmm. So these innovative ideas and the data analytics and stuff like that, we don't have that at United, basically. So Klopp is a genius, and I have a lot of respect for Klopp because I've studied him for a long time.
Yeah.
But it's not only him. You know, it's him and his coaching staff and the people around him and the clubs he the clubs he walks into. So if a club, let's say, walked into Cardiff, for example, just put him in Ollie's shoes in that. Mm-hmm. At the state that Cardiff was in back in 2014, in the turmoil that it was in, I don't think club would have been successful. In fact, he probably would have had, just as Ollie, like somewhere around the win ratio of 30%, you know? So people need to take these things into perspective. And like I said before, Ali is not only a victim of the board, is currently a victim of circumstance because of all the stuff that has been happening. And he's not, like, he wants to take control of all of it, but it's all spiraling so fast and it's out of his hand. And the funny part is he actually warned about it in his last press conference before the end of the last season. He said, I don't have a preseason booked. I'm worried about the players. So I'm like, yeah, like there, you could go on and on about it. There's so much to talk about because it's just not one thing. Like people want to find this like one thing, you know, like, I found that this is why he failed. No, it's not this just one thing. There's like a million other factors that you just didn't put into consideration.
I think Reese's analogy of us bleeding, I think, is actually spot on because it's not just the first team squad that was bleeding, let's say, over the past 4, 5, 6 years. The academy is starting to bleed too, but the work that they've done in the academy has taken the last 3 or 4 years, and the way that Nicky Butt sort of changed the fortunes there, and the people around Nicky Butt as well. It's not just Nicky Butt. So I think it's really interesting to see where they're going there. And of course, I think we forget with Kieran McKenna, he was brought in to do wonders at youth team level. He was Spurs. He was fantastic at Spurs as a youth team coach, and he was fantastic with us as a youth team coach as well, which is why he got his promotion, because the way he was playing football at youth team level worked. There's just something not working, like when it comes through to, and it's an easy thing to say. James, let's come over to you quickly, mate. It's an easy thing to say, isn't it? And I see this a lot on Twitter. When United go out on that pitch and play, well, what do they do during the week when they're training? I mean, what have you made of our, let's say, stop-start performances under Ollie?
It's frustrating, to say the least. Like you say, there's obviously a plan behind the scenes, but I don't know what it is because under Ole, like nothing against him, but I don't think there's been anyone who's improved. Obviously, but barring sort of Mason Greenwood and players like that, but I don't think anyone over the last 12 to 18 months has really, upped their game massively. Maybe Martial, debatably, but yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? You look on that pitch and think, yeah, they've practiced that in training. There's no, like at the start of the season, it just looks like a team full of individuals. That's what I've noticed. There's no real cohesion there that you'd get from these intense tactical training sessions that go on behind the scenes. So yeah, I probably agree with you.
Yeah, on James's point there, Matt, let's go to the first Matt on my screen first. Let's go to American Matt. That's how we split up the two Matts. Let's go over to Matt. Let's come over to you just on that, though. Could that also be down to the fact, coaches aside and manager aside and tactics aside, and we can go in depth about this as we actually really want to, but just to play devil's advocate a bit, could that also come down to the fact that these current United players haven't got great players around them? They haven't got experienced players to learn off of.
Yeah, and I think it goes down to the classic saying, you're as good as the people around you, and I mean, it's a common criticism of United the last couple of years. We play down to our opposition, and it's kind of similar to now. Our players, you kind of just play to the level of what's around you. Yeah, we do have world class players like Bruno, Paul, Van de Beek. I would say is getting up there, but at the same time, I mean, there's only so much you can do if it's the same thing over and over again. That's why I think signing someone like Jadon Sancho, even though he wouldn't have solved the defensive problems, a signing like that helps the club massively in all aspects. Obviously, marketing, Woodward loves that, but on the field, you have the hype around Sancho. You see him do it in Germany now. You see it live. It's just the more you're around quality, you raise up your own level.
Yeah. No, good point. And that's actually why I'm excited about Cavani joining United, because I'm hoping that our attacking options can actually learn from him. Matt, I take it you agree with everything that Matt just said. But let's ask you a different question. Let's talk a little bit around. Oh, God, Reese, have you got a spaceship in your room? What's going on there?
Where?
I can hear what feels like a spaceship. There's something happening in the background. It's like ET phone home.
It might be because I had to switch headphones. I'm losing. I'm at 6% charge, so I'm just turning it down. But no,
I think it was a little bit.
To be fair, if you want to talk about bedrooms, I mean, Suzanne mentioned my wallpaper earlier on, so I'm getting back to her comment. Cheers, and I saw Rusty said he loves me. I'm not sure what context, but it's a good.
Okay, yeah. If you want to say nice things about Reese here, read it out. Don't worry about that. It makes sure everyone knows that you love him. Just put them in the live chat.
Any context I appreciate, but as long as I'm just saying what I feel, that's what I'm all about. I say it as it is, and don't agree with me, at least point it out. That's what I like about having free speech.
Matt, let's come over to you. Talking about free speech. What about Paul Pogba under Ole? Because he is a certified player who's boiled hot and cold under Ole, isn't he? I mean, he had his injuries, but look, is Ole the manager to get behind someone like Paul Pogba and get the best out of him? Do you think?
I don't think we'll ever see the best out of Paul Pogba in a Manchester United shirt. Let's be really, really clear. There isn't anything that lad can't do with the football. There isn't anything that lad can't do with the football. And I think that's why it's so underwhelming every time we see him put a shirt on. I can pick out 3 or 4 games max where he's got over an 8 out of 10 for us. And he's a massive, massive disappointment. And, he is everything that is wrong with the modern day Manchester United at the moment. He is in our squad, in our team at the moment for one reason only, and that's to sell shirts. Nothing more than that. You look at the shirt statistics up until we signed him. We averaged about 1.75 million shirt sales a year. In the 2 years after we signed him, we averaged 3 million shirt sales a year. And let's get it right. We're a club run by bankers, and he can dish out 5 and 6s out of 10 on a pitch, but when you've added 1 million shirt sales a year, they couldn't give a monkeys. The biggest thing Ole's got, the biggest challenge Ole's got now is what he does with Paul Pogba. Coming out on international duty, flirting with Real Madrid, that wasn't a shock. That was no surprise whatsoever. That's rule 101. If you're a client of Raiola's and your contract negotiations aren't going the way you want, the next time you're out on international duty, you mention another club. That was no shock. But actually, it's thoroughly disrespectful off the back of a 6-1 defeat when you've delivered the type of performance that you have, that you come out and you flirt with another club. I get he said loads of nice things about loving Man United and wanting to take Man United, but he's a smart cookie. You don't get to where you've got if you're not a smart cookie. He knows what he's saying. He knows why he's saying it. But for me, Paul Pogba just needs shipping on. And you know, my hope was that when they signed Donny van de Beek, that was going to be Paul Pogba being shifted out of the door. I think people forget really quickly that when Paul Pogba didn't want to play because of his long-term injury, and we had Fred and we had McTominay, and then Bruno came in, you know, those three delivered some of the best performances I've seen in a Man United, out of Man United for the last 2 or 3 years. And do you know what? The minute we started winning, all of a sudden Pogba's fit, Fred misses out, Scott McTominay misses out, and you know, you mentioned about having good players around you. Well, you know, you can't tell me that Sheffield United's first 11's any better than the 11 that we put out, or Wolverhampton Wanderers. Yet they seem to get a better return on the sum of their 11 than perhaps we currently do at the moment. And you can't carry players. And I watch Manchester United and I watch Paul Pogba, and I think he's an absolute passenger. Yeah, I love the outside of the boot, left foot, 40, 50-yard passes that get replayed on social media every 5 minutes. But don't be mistaken. He doesn't do that every 5 minutes. He does that once every 4 weeks. It just gets rehashed on social media every 5 minutes by the Paul Pogba fan club. So, you know, for me, ship Paul Pogba on. Let's get Donny van de Beek in, and let's get some players in and around that want to work hard and that don't worry so much about their show reel, and actually that they are really concerned about getting a great result for Manchester United Football Club.
I mean, it's an interesting point of view. I mean, I know Abdel's going to want to come in about Paul Pogba there. Are you, Abdel? Was you putting your...
Yeah, I was. It's actually a point about, I think, James made and what Matt said. So regarding the coaching, there's 2 ways you can go about it, right? And the first way is you have 11 average players that you drill into them a specific system, a system with specific movements, and they can't move outside that system. And the best representation of this is Sheffield United. Sheffield United, once you figure them out, they don't know what to do. But they have a very, very, very well-drilled system in which they operate, but it's the same exact system every single time. And this is why Chris Waddle thinks, well, I drilled them into this system. This is the best I can get out of them. But the one component they have over any top team is that the 11 players up to the goalkeeper, they work their socks off. They will die on that pitch in that system. So this is what unfortunately we don't have. I mean, you can drill them into a system or tell them to play into a certain system. But if the players don't do it, or the players don't put the effort to run back, then no matter what tactics you put, it's just not going to work out. Because at the end of the day, they're the ones who are carrying out your tactics. I can tell Shaw, please go up front and make an underlapping run and be aware of the movements of the winger. But Shaw does that, and then when he gets back up and we lose the ball, it's like, oh shit, I have to run back all the way, and then he jogs back. You know, that's not tactics. It's just Shaw being fucking lazy. Sorry for the world. You know, it's the same thing with Pogba at the moment. Like the Pogba and the performance that we had, him and Matic, and I'm not gonna just single out Pogba. They were jogging through the midfield. They were not putting any effort. I mean, Oli could have told them whatever, you know, take advantage of Sissoko's movement when he moves out to cover his left back, or his right back, you know. And if Matic does it at a very slow pace, then Sissoko's already gone. Bye. You know, it's like so. It's both ways. It's a two-way street. You know, I can put the tactics for you, but if you don't put the effort, then the tactics won't do shit.
Also on Paul Pogba, just quickly, like for me and Abdul, I think you'll want to come back and make a point on Pogba. I think that I can understand if Paul Pogba's frustrated at Manchester United, because it doesn't matter when a footballer signs for another club, and I don't care what anyone says, money's obviously going to be a big part of it, but you're going to choose a project, right? And I think when United went to Paul Pogba about returning, it was this fairy tale dream that he was sold about returning to Manchester United. You're going to be the guy to drag us through the dirt. And I think it sort of hits on a little bit sort of what you were saying there, Abdul. Maybe even going back to what we were saying about Harry Maguire, in terms of that he's played a season, United have slightly been found out, and we haven't built around him. What have we built around Paul Pogba all these years? What have we actually done around Paul Pogba all these years? We actually haven't done anything to help him out in his game. But I think also this is a little bit of a compliment to Paul Pogba. We expect so much from him, forgetting that he is one player out of 11 on that pitch. And I think it's tough.
Yeah, and believe me, I'm not one of those who's gonna say I need him to grab the game by the scruff of the neck and lead the team and to carry the club on their back. No. I'm not saying that. You need 11 players to do that. What I'm saying is you need to see the effort. And in that last few games, there was no effort whatsoever. Now, Pogba has his reasons, and I sympathize with coming back from COVID, not having preseason, etc., etc. But generally, he is that way. And that's not the Pogba that we had at Juventus, because people blame it on Oli in the sense of he's playing him in the wrong position. He should put him in the 10 position. No, he shouldn't, because Pogba doesn't play in the 10 position. The least position he played in his entire career is the 10 position. Okay, Pogba plays either in a midfield of 3 to the left side as an 8, or he plays a 6 in a double pivot like Oli plays in right now. Pogba won the World Cup in the same position he's playing at United right now. It has nothing to do with position. Pogba is our best player as a progressor, better than Bruno, better than Matic. So the position he plays in is the perfect position for him. He is the role and the instruction he's given is to go up in front until the box with the late runs. So Pogba could be the guy that you do a cutback pass for him, and he's arriving late at the box and shoots it from outside the box and gets a goal. That's his role at the moment. So I don't want to hear this. He's playing in the wrong position. He is not playing in the wrong position. He is playing at the position that he was playing in most of his career. As an 8, Pogba was tasked with a lot of defensive duties at Juventus. He just does not do them at United, and that's the issue I have with Pogba currently. It's the same thing with like when you say he's being tasked with a lot, Pogba is not being tasked with a lot. The expectations are a lot. That's a different story, but his role on the pitch is not a lot. Mm-hmm. The person who's actually his role on the pitch is a lot and the expectation are a lot is a different player. That's Harry Maguire, because of his price tag and because he has to actually organize the entire defense line. But Pogba is not. And as I love the guy, but he's not putting it in for me. He's just not working. He's not working.
It's more an effort and so to speak.
Exactly.
It's an effort problem at the moment. And to be honest, exactly. there's loads of chats going on. I think people are sort of arguing amongst themselves, which sort of shows sort of what the big widening areas of, so to speak, opinion comes from, because there is a lot of opinion on Ole, on Poch, on Pogba, on Maguire, on the captaincy, and it just goes to show. I think it comes back to Reese's point about us bleeding a little bit. There's so many areas.
As clear as possible. It's not about Pogba's position. It's not about Pogba's position. It has nothing with it being played in a 10 or an 8. Both Bruno and Pogba can play both positions. That's for sure, because he has a lot of qualities when he gets into the box. He's physical. He's big. He can head the ball. He can shoot from outside the box, etc., etc. But his position in his entire career is in the position that he's been playing right now, or in an 8 when he used to play at Juventus, because he had Pirlo behind him. So it's not about his position. It's
again, like players around him. Imagine if you've got someone like Pirlo behind you and the players you got in front of you. It's what you've got.
He had defensive duties still. He had to run up and down that pitch. He was doing it for Juventus. He's just not been doing it for United. it's the lack of effort that I have an issue with Pogba. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm. And again, like people saying here, Matt, sort of what you were saying, it's frustration because it's poor performances and we're not seeing changes happen quick enough and it's inconsistency as well. And there's a lot of people, I can understand if you switched on for 2 minutes, you might see this as like negative narrative, so to speak. But we've spoken about Matic, we've spoken about Fred and McTominay, we've spoken about Maguire, we've spoken about loads of different players. When we're reacting to what everyone's overreacting to on social media, there's always going to be a balanced argument. So go back and watch some of the other points as well. Hit like on this video, smash subscribe. I think you all made a good point on Pogba. But Oliver, I want to come with you a slightly different question here on everything we've just spoken about. Ole, form, Pogba, Maguire's head, mental stability from players, defensive, everything we've spoken about. I mean, it's so easy, isn't it, for us to ignore the impact that COVID's had in all this. No preseason. It was a weird, so to speak, random 5-6 weeks that all the players had off out the blue at the start of the year and straight out of January. We then came back firing. We then came slightly out of form in terms of how we were playing towards the end of the Europa League. I mean, this has all played a part, hasn't it, Oliver?
Oh, massively. I mean, it's easy. I keep hearing a lot that.
Oh, you're cutting out. Oh, Ollie, you're cutting out.
You can't.
Oh, Ollie, you're cutting out there, mate. I'm going to have to jump in because you're lagging all over the place, I'm afraid, mate. COVID up front, says Russell. I hear he's good in a number 9 position. Oliver, I'll bring you back in. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me, mate?
You're really lagging there. Do you want to go again?
Yeah. Oh, right. You can hear me now. Yeah. Well, it's easy for a lot of people to say, oh, well, they've done nothing all summer. How's that the same as not having a pre-season? But you can see, from minute 1 of the first game, there's a lack of coherence or, cohesiveness throughout the team. It's the little, non-look passing. It's just not there. Or, making a pass expecting someone to make a run. All these little details in a game that's, in the Premier League, we pride ourselves on being a game of, very few chances. And, the minutiae of a game can dictate itself from the smallest detail. I think our rustiness has shown massively. Certain teams have had, 4 pre-season games. I mean, we had 1. And I think that was 2 half games against West Brom. That's not a pre-season, not even by any stretch of the imagination. So I'm hoping the 3 games we have before the international break can sort of act as that, pre-season catalyst. Right, they can sit down, they can go through everything, see where the mistakes are being made. And I think we couldn't have asked for a better time for the international break, to be honest with you. Maybe just a time to get everyone in, go through, right, that was our pre-season. The season starts now. It's not too late to get anything out of it. Luckily, we've got a few players in. It's not the players that everybody wanted, but we're still in a position to do well in the Champions League, or at least go into that. And, we're definitely not out of the running to get a top position this season. I think it was just and I was guilty of it as well, let's be honest, a slight overreaction to the Tottenham game. No one wants to see that, but, then Liverpool go and lose 7-2. It happens. And that just shows that, the massive impact that COVID's had on, pre-season form, people getting into the quality that, you tune in for in the Premier League. It's not the same. It doesn't help without the fans. That must have an impact. You go out, you're used to 50,000 people being behind you. It's the 12th man. That's not there. All these little details will be having a massive effect. And I'm sure that'll show more so now than the restart. It was new. You get into it. Adrenaline sort of pulls you through. As we go through a whole season without fans and, a lack of pre-season fitness, people are having to do extra work, in between games, that will start to show. And you'll see the fitter teams will end up doing well. So I think you could see Leeds probably getting up there for the top 6. They do a thing called murder ball, which is 20 minutes of full-paced running. If the ball goes out, someone throws it in. And that's why they've given such a good account of themselves thus far, is fitness. It's like Abdel was saying about Sheffield United. You know, it's 11 players doing one thing well. But if you do that well, especially now when we haven't had the chance to implement tactics or, you know, do the usual pre-season sort of ramblings, you can see. And I think it's going to be a bit of a weird stack at the top this season because of the impact of not having a pre-season. You know, the fans aren't there and it's really hitting home now.
Yeah.
I think people being at home or having to watch at home, I don't know if you guys have noticed, social media has become a lot more toxic because there's no outlet for people.
Yeah, good points made. Anyone else want to make a final quick point before we end the show? Anyone else want to say anything on anything else we've mentioned?
Yeah, I want to say just a quick point.
Really quick. Let's go really
What
quickly
I said
through.
about all right, what I said about Pogba is no hate or agenda on Pogba. And the reason he in 18-19 season he was at the top charter of everything is Pogba was playing more offensively, definitely. But that does not mean that this is his best position or he's playing in the wrong position right now. He was taking our penalties, he was taking our free kicks, he was taking everything. That these have to be taken into context, just for the people that think I am being harsh on him or anything. I just want more effort. That's all it is from him.
I think we all
And
do.
I have sympathy for what happened for COVID and preseason and all that. I take that into consideration as well.
I think it'd be interesting as well when Mane and the guys from Liverpool come back from having COVID and having symptoms. I think not a lot was talking about that Pogba was actually quite ill with it, and I think we all missed that a little bit. So yeah, I think it's interesting, guys. Thank you for jumping on. I just want to jump because I was going to ask you one more question, but actually I think Oliver brought this to a nice positive end, and this comment popped up. Looking at the next set of fixtures, the odds are totally against Ollie, but he proved otherwise in the past. And you're right, he did turn things around last time. And you know what? I want to end on this. The best is yet to come because, yeah, we've got Newcastle coming up. Who knows what's going to happen against Newcastle? We're in that state of form at the moment. But the week after,
I've got a cast comment as well. Once you're finished there as well, Ben, I've got one thing to say.
Mate,
as well.
I'm ending the show. You can't come out with that.
It's cool though. It's a good one. It's simple. It's simple as what I said about bleeding before. It's like everything bleeds for a reason, but once you fix that wound properly, better things will be shown in the future. So there you go.
Well, maybe mine wasn't as good as that, but I'm still going to try anyway. We have got a massive game coming up after the Newcastle game because under the floodlights again, we are back in the Champions League, and they are the moments that we live for. So I cannot wait. Come on, United. Let's get behind Ollie. Let's get behind our captain. Let's get behind the squad, and let's hope, a bit like Oliver said, when we come back from the international break, we can kick on. Because as Al Foran said the other day, United will be back. This team will be back, and we will see the best of United again with these players. So fingers crossed it can happen with the additions that we've had too. Guys, smash a like, hit subscribe, follow all these guys on Twitter as well, at All for United. I'll include them in the tweet. Thank you guys for taking your time out this evening. I've been Ben. I'll be back on next week. Check us out. We've got loads of content coming up, including on Tuesday, we're dropping with the Manchester Munich Memorial Foundation, a Duncan Edwards special. So be on that. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll speak to you guys soon. Take it easy.
Take care.